Today we're taking a deep dive into the connection between your coffee habits and how long you might live.
We're looking at a study called Coffee Drinking Timing and Mortality in U.S. Adults from the European Heart Journal,
They used information from two big studies for this,
the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey.
and the Women's and Men's Lifestyle Validation Study,
This study looks at two different ways people drink coffee,
the morning type,
where people mostly have coffee before noon,
and then the all-day type.
where coffee is enjoyed throughout the day,
Researchers tracked the participants for almost a decade.
an average of 9.8 years,
They were looking at deaths from all different causes,
including cardiovascular disease.
and cancer.
One of the most interesting things they found was the morning type pattern.
People who had that pattern had a lower risk of dying from any cause.
And specifically, a lower risk of dying from cardiovascular disease.
This was compared to people who didn't drink coffee at all.
And these results stayed the same even after considering things like how old the people were, their lifestyle, and how much coffee they drank overall.
But here's the really interesting part.
The all-day type pattern showed no connection to a higher or lower risk of death.
So it seems like it really matters when you drink your coffee.
The study goes even further and looks at the link between how much coffee you drink and how likely you are to die.
And it turns out that drinking more coffee was linked to a lower chance of dying from any cause.
But only for those morning-type coffee drinkers.
No such luck for the all-day drinkers.
The researchers have a couple of ideas about why this might be.
One idea is that drinking coffee later in the day could mess with your body's natural rhythms.
These rhythms are called circadian rhythms, and they affect things like when you feel tired or awake.
And they also affect the production of a hormone called melatonin.
Melatonin is really important for helping you sleep.
So if you're having coffee later in the day, it could disrupt your sleep by affecting your melatonin levels.
The second idea is that coffee might be better at fighting inflammation in the morning.
Coffee has antioxidants in it, which help reduce inflammation in the body.
And it seems like these antioxidants might be more effective earlier in the day.
This could be because inflammation levels are naturally higher in the morning.
So if you drink your coffee, then those antioxidants have more to work with.
The way the study was done is important to understand too.
They used data from a very large and diverse group of people
And they used specific statistical methods.
to separate the impact of coffee drinking patterns on the risk of death from all the other things that can affect how long people live.
So while we can't say for sure that drinking coffee in the morning will make you live longer,
This study provides some pretty compelling evidence.
it might be worth thinking about changing your coffee routine to favor morning consumption.
Especially if you're concerned about your long-term health.
This deep dive really emphasizes that it's not just about how much coffee you drink.
But also when you drink it. The study also digs into how these connections might actually work in our bodies.
One of the main things they looked at was how the timing of your coffee drinking could affect those circadian rhythms.
Right. Our bodies have like an internal clock that controls lots of different things.
Things like when our bodies make certain hormones, how our metabolism works, and when we feel sleepy or awake,
And if you mess with those rhythms, it can have some not so good effects on your health.
like if you have irregular sleep patterns or eat at weird times.
The study's suggesting that having coffee later in the day could be one of those things that messes with that internal clock.
Potentially by affecting how much melatonin your body makes.
Melatonin's that hormone that helps regulate your sleep.
And it's really important for keeping those circadian rhythms in check.
Another interesting thing is how the timing of coffee consumption might impact the body's inflammatory response.
Coffee's got those antioxidants in it.
And antioxidants have anti-inflammatory properties.
So the findings from this study suggest that having coffee in the morning when your body's inflammation levels are naturally a bit higher might actually make those antioxidants work better.
Which could be why those morning coffee drinkers had some health benefits.
The study also brings up some questions about the relationship between drinking coffee and cardiovascular health.
Coffee's got a bunch of different compounds in it, including caffeine.
And those compounds can have both good and maybe not so good effects on your heart and blood vessels.
And it seems like when you drink your coffee might play a role in how those compounds interact with your body.
For example, if you drink coffee in the morning, it might boost those anti-inflammatory benefits from the antioxidants.
But if you drink it later in the day when your cortisol levels are naturally going down, it might interfere with how your body normally handles stress.
Which could potentially increase your risk of cardiovascular problems.
Now it's really important to remember that everyone reacts to coffee differently.
Things like your genetics, your chronotype, Whether you're a morning person or a night owl, and your overall lifestyle can all play a role in how your body handles the caffeine and other compounds in coffee.
For some people, having a moderate amount of coffee, no matter when they drink it, might be totally fine and even good for them.
But for other people, especially those who are really sensitive to caffeine or who have some existing health conditions, it might be a good idea to adjust how much coffee they drink or when they drink it.
The most important thing is to pay attention to how your body feels and make changes based on that.
This study really highlights that we need to think about coffee consumption in a more personalized way.
Taking into account each person's individual needs and preferences so they can make choices that support their overall health.
This research really encourages us to think differently about coffee.
It's not just a simple question of whether coffee is good or bad for you.
We need to dig deeper and see how our bodies handle this drink.
The findings from this study are especially important for anyone who wants to get the most health benefits from their coffee.
Even though more research is needed to be absolutely sure.
It seems like shifting your coffee drinking to earlier in the day could be a good idea.
Especially if you're worried about heart disease.
It's important to remember, though, that not everyone reacts to caffeine in the same way.
Some people might have trouble sleeping or have other negative effects, even if they only drink coffee in the morning.
So listen to your body and adjust your coffee habits accordingly.
If you're having bad reactions to coffee, even when you drink it early in the day, you might want to cut back or talk to your doctor.
They can give you personalized advice.
This deep dive has really shed some light on the fascinating connection between our daily routines and our long-term health.
And how that plays out when it comes to coffee.
Even though this particular study focused on coffee and how long people live,
The idea of syncing our habits with our natural body rhythms is relevant to other parts of our lives, too.
like when we eat and when we sleep.
By learning about these rhythms and making smart choices, we can potentially improve our overall well-being.
This research is a powerful reminder that the more we know, the better equipped we are to make informed decisions about our health.
And those decisions could lead to a longer, healthier life.
That wraps up another deep dive.
We'll see you next time for more explorations into the fascinating world of health research.